I used to like the older Dontnod games. That's why this is extremely sad to see, and this is Aphelion, a government-funded game that nobody wanted. And even if the handful of people were interested in this title, they were kicked in the nuts from the get-go because the game was made on now infamous Unreal Engine 5 and it's an stuttering, unoptimized mess that barely functions on pretty much every PC build. And even if trying to give this game a fair shot, it doesn't bode well when within the first 15 minutes this happens.
This is Hopon astrobiologist Aryan.
So the trailer for this shit show was presented to us on the Game Awards, and as always I withheld my judgment despite all people criticizing it, till we received the game, and I'm going to be able to test it and actually play it and then give out my opinion. It didn't present anything spectacular, but oh no, it's a modern Dontnod games. So, for those unaware, Dontnod used to create a really good AA games. So we had Remember Me, Vampire, and Life is Strange, and then they followed with okay-ish Life is Strange 2, even though it was like a propaganda game, and I saw all sides of the spectrum roll their eyes when some scenes were happening in the game. The game still was pretty decent, I would say. After Life is Strange 2, it seems like they completely lost it and they went with Tell Me Why, Twin Mirror, and I don't blame you, you don't know what it is because the game was released as an Epic exclusive. So yeah, nobody played it. Later it released to Steam, and on Steam also nobody played it because it was too late. Harmony, yeah, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, which is kinda a laughingstock at the moment with what the game looks like. There were two anomalies, with Jusant, which was a pretty decent game, which also was very niche, so not a lot of people even played it, but the game was pretty good and I would recommend you picking it up on sale, and Banishes, which was something that had a really decent idea, but actually got lacking in execution department. It didn't really live up to the expectation. But Aphelion is the worst game that Dontnod ever put out. So what is the story of Aphelion? And that will be quick because there is not really much going on in this game. So on the start, we are told by this text that Earth is dying from unmitigated climate change. So people are searching for the new home for humanity, that's why they went to Persephone. Two astronauts are sent to investigate the planet called Persephone, and their mission is to check if Persephone is actually inhabitable by humans. So before they even get to land, they crash and they get separated. From what we are presented, in the cutscene at least, they seem like lovers that aren't really fully there yet. We have two characters, Ariane and Thomas. They end up in completely different places on this unknown planet, and we play as both of them. You don't play as only one character, you play as both of them. So Ariane is the one who actually does all the climbing and sneaking, avoiding the alien entity that is on this planet. And Thomas is injured in the crash, so he ends up, for the entire game, being the slow one and more puzzle-focused. And he has to, like, for an example, get from one oxygen tank to the other oxygen tank, so you have this time limit where you have to kind of technically stress out, but you don't because the time limit is so generous that I even managed to go in the wrong direction at one point and I still didn't die. I didn't die from the oxygen even once in this game. And how are this oxygen tanks on this planet if this is like the first mission that was sent out to Persephone? Well, there are stations on this planet because turns out that there was some mission that was sent to Persephone to like investigate and conduct some experiments and stuff to see if they can actually make Persephone a planet that humans could inhabit. So they are not even told the full story, and they land on this planet and they go through these facilities. And the gameplay wise, yeah, this is yet another walking simulator type game where your entire agency is limited to just following the path. You don't have any choices, you don't do anything extraordinary, there's no combat. Even though where there's like a few moments when, for an example, the like line where you should go is unclear, and I managed to get lost in the storm, you still are in a really tight corridors, you don't really get any freedom. And of course, as you are on this foreign planet, you are climbing cliffs, but every single edge that you can grab is painted white, and the walls that you can climb onto using zipline are scratched, so I genuinely have no words. When I played this atrocious piece of shit, I literally fell asleep 3 times. 2 times during the first hour of the game, and the 3rd time in the 2nd hour of the game. What's more hilarious, like I found Thomas' sequences like more interesting than Ariane's, even though like her gameplay is more like technically like faster, more engaging, you do more than you do as Thomas, but I found playing as Thomas less exhausting than playing as Ariane. And this is a game where you just go forward, climb some cliff, open some passage, and move forward. This is the simplest possible concept to do. Nobody tried to create anything memorable, anything fun, yet they managed to fuck up so many times during making this game. It's astonishing. The dive under the textures is just the beginning. Or actually it wasn't, because before this happens, you have a cutscene, which is a stuttering mess, and it was really painful to watch. Then we have the dive under the textures, and as you progress through the game, climbing is really clunky. You sometimes tell the character to do certain thing and the character just isn't obeying. And if it comes to climbing, the game actually forces you to spam each time when you are jumping from one ledge to the other one. It is not like a normal climb, like you have to do a bigger jump. So you will have to press square or X, depends on what controller you're playing on, because if you don't, the game is going to put you in this falling state, like you are just gripping the ledge with one hand, and it's going to force you to press A. This is notorious. Sometimes there are walls when you genuinely just have to constantly do slightly bigger jumps than normal climbs from one ledge to the other, and you will have to remember that you have to press that fucking button, because you will be greeted exactly every single time with press the A to save yourself. This is so annoying. It was really painful because like I get it, like do it once in a while, but this game does it exactly every single time you forget to press X or square. It's going to force you into this animation of you almost falling off the ledge. The second one is also when you are playing and you want to drop down from the edge to start climbing down. You can't do this until the prompt is going to be highlighted on your screen that you are allowed to. The same goes with the grappling hook. So sometimes the game is just not going to show you the prompt when it should be, and you will have to position yourself in a way so the prompt is going to be forced onto your screen because you are stuck at this point. That's why I sometimes tried jumping, and that's always how I ended up dying. So the same goes for the zipline. When you are trying to like catch yourself, you have to position yourself, you have to maneuver until the prompt is going to show. One time there was a document that I wanted to pick up and I couldn't pick it up because I saw that there is something that I can pick up, but the prompt wouldn't appear because it was positioned in such a way that from either side I could not, for a love of God, pick this item up. I have to go away from the fucking item. So prompt actually on one fucking pixel that I positioned myself, I managed to click A and I picked it up. But like most people probably would give up. Zipline mechanic is completely fucked. You're supposed to zipline down on the wall, but for an example, if you jump, it's going to detach itself. If you are falling down and you want to save yourself by using a zipline, forget it, even though you have a prompt and you should be able to do so. The zipline is going to shoot up and it's going to still kill you, but your body is going to be just thrown into the air. Sometimes when the knot, that you have these types of knots that you have to like mend to open the passage, sometimes when the knot needs mending and you are, for an example, too close to said knot, it's not going to show up on you and there's no visible like cue that you are too close and you have to step back, so you don't know what to do because you checked the place, but the knot didn't appear because you are too close. So somehow I was, for an example, searching for other ways to go because the knot didn't appear. And what happened? What happened was this: when I tried to, for an example, jump in across the gap that I wasn't supposed to jump across. And this happened multiple times in the game when I was playing. It's not only this one time. At one point when I was sneaking through the water, my character genuinely just started roller skating because she wasn't moving her legs, but she was genuinely just sliding across the water. So I was supposed to not make any sounds, but I didn't make any sound even when I was just running through the water because she wasn't moving, so the creature wasn't even reacting to the fact that I am running in the water. And at one point here, for an example, I was supposed to jump on this like small shelf so I can attach to the different point and go even lower, and I couldn't because the game wouldn't let me detach. I tried swinging and jumping. I even managed to position myself to land while still attached with the rope on this shelf, and it wouldn't allow me to let go. And I tried to rotating on this rope so I can just be positioned towards the shelf, not with my back, but the character wouldn't just turn. I needed to actually die and respawn because the game wouldn't allow me to progress. And then on top of that, the game fucking crashed because Unreal Engine couldn't take the heat. Everything in this game is an absolute mess, from the cutscenes through gameplay to the story, because the game starts as the game that should be suited for everyone, like a sci-fi game that is more grounded. It's kind of like Starfield, but even I would say more grounded than Starfield. Then it turns into a game that tries to be a horror with all the murdered scientists in the base. When you explore and when you find out that nothing was working for the planet to be like able to sustain human life, so they did something that resulted in creating this big black creature that we avoid when playing as Ariane, and this is Parasite. This parasite got born because they kinda exploited the source of the planet. The crew was split, and some crew members were killed by the creatures, for an example, the ones that are impaled on eyes, but other ones got their throats slit. And I mean, the tone of the game shifts completely in the middle of the game, but the gameplay stays the same boring shit you did for the entire game, and nothing changes. Then after that, the game closes on to the end and you witness Thomas dying. This is probably like the one emotional scenes with Thomas that are actually kinda well written and well directed, when he finds out that he's not going to live because he has fucked up liver and there is no way to save him. So he decides to sacrifice himself to stop the creature, to maybe buy Ariane some more time or save Ariane so she can make the mission to the end. And she doesn't have an idea that this is happening because turns out Thomas's sequences are 9 hours into the past, so the game tries to like trick you that this is happening like at the same time, but Thomas is already dead when you start even playing the first sequence as Ariane. And then when Ariane sees that Thomas is dead and he was dead for 9 hours, she starts regretting everything that happened between them and that she wasn't really able to tell him that she loves him. And that's probably one thing that I can give this game, that this sequence, this segment, this cutscene was actually pretty well directed, well written. Everything else and everything else that happens in the future for this game is a complete mess, because from science fiction, this game turns into straight up fantasy. So it turns out that Persephone, the planet, creates the image of Thomas and leads Ariane to the source so she can free the source. It was guiding her before through the storm, but now it guides her directly to the source so she can save Persephone. And when you do it, the creature is dead, the life starts growing again on the planet, but I guess like this is like a thank you gift from Persephone that Ariane saved the planet from the evil machines made by humans, and Ariane lets go of Thomas. I mean, that's at least what the scene is suggesting. She had one thing, this acorn, from him, and she threw it out, so that kind of suggests that she's letting him go. And I don't know, maybe an hour after you found out that your lover is dead? Kinda too fast, I would say. She was willing to like abandon the mission to save him and to find him and everything. Like the dialogues in this game are so abysmal. Like when you play as Ariane, so she is going around and just screams, Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. So I got Naruto flashbacks from Sakura screaming Naruto, Sasuke, the entire series. So in this, if you want to play a drinking game and you want to take a shot, each time she says Thomas, you probably die of alcohol poisoning. Shit was unbearable, and I was tempted to just mute the game and turn on some music or maybe podcast in the back. And also, can someone explain to me, how in the hell did they actually get all this equipment to build these machines down at the source of the planet when we had to just climb? There was no construction site, there was no like remains after people being there, no lines, no like panels, no temporary stations, no equipment, nothing. There's just blobs, 3 big blob balls standing and generating power and sucking this power out of the source, but there is no equipment, there is no path that they actually could have taken to even go there, and no means to transport it down there. And even if they wanted to transport them as a whole, already built, there is no path to take it because it's too big and the passages are too small. And no, there is no like different entrance to the source, because when we find out that there's one woman on the station, I mean 2 women, but one of them decided to sacrifice herself kinda and go down to the source to disable the machines or destroy them on her own. And she was like stuck there and died probably from exhaustion because her equipment was sabotaged. So she was genuinely like following the same path that we are following as the main protagonist. So there is no other way. And she is the only type of like, I don't know, like sign of humans that were in this place. There is nothing else. Only this one woman who died because she already wanted to turn them off. So there is this big gaping hole, because this genuinely makes no sense. Someone didn't think this through at all. Not that anything was thought through when making this game, but it's just jarring when you think about it for a second. The dialogues overall are dull and badly written to the point when I was genuinely cringing at times. At one point, when you are genuinely like inches from the source, you find the map with big letters on the map spelling source, and she's like, oh, look at this must be the source. And I'm like, no shit, Sherlock.
This place. It must be the source. The heart of Persephone.
And at the end, she also takes off her helmet without any like message from anyone or anything that grew up or something, because the plant actually grows after the credits, so she doesn't see any plant. She just decides to take off her helmet on the foreign planet because the entity of this planet kinda likes her, and she just breathes like magically. And I'm like, okay, so either this planet constantly had breathable air and everything we did as Thomas was bullshit, or what the fuck happened? Nothing is explained, nothing makes sense. And yes, the game is written by an activist who has no knowledge about how the writing works. And I am not one of those people who is going to kick and scream because the activist is in the credits or even creating a main narrative. If the game would be good and it would be created by an activist, I would say it's good. There is always someone working on the team that makes your game that you're playing, that you're going to hate them or they will hate you. And there is nothing you can do about it, there is no escaping that. You'd actually have to stop playing anything, new or old. The problem becomes when the game is obviously trash from every point of view. The writing is catastrophic, the dialogues are abysmal, and we do know that the woman who was a lead writer on the game has a dislike for gamers, and she also has no idea how to write the compelling narrative for a video game. Dontnod was always a highly progressive studio, so from the jump there is a section of players that are going to simply reject this game. However, this time, the game is so ass that even their own fans are calling this game a disaster. I liked Dontnod games. Even the ones that are newer ones and are clearly not really good, I am able to enjoy. I couldn't stand this fucking game. I fell asleep 3 times, and further into the game I went, I hated this thing more and more. The more I saw, the more I hated the game. This game was funded by not one but 2 governments, French and Canadian, and they worked with ESA, European Space Agency, and it's still unfinished, unoptimized buggy mess that barely functions at the time. I don't know, did ESA told you about the ziplines detach on their own and shoot dead bodies into the stratosphere? I don't think so. So the funny thing is that how stuttery and messy this frame rate is in this game, but the graphics are not even good. The graphics look like a generic fucking graphics from PlayStation 4 game, and the character models look straight up ugly. I don't know what is happening at Dontnod, but I hope they are going to pull out their heads from their asses, because this is disastrous. And it pains me to see the talented AA studio like Spiders got shut down, but Dontnod keeps publishing shit after shit and still gets government funding. And both of them are from the same country. Both of these studios are based in France. And Spiders didn't get to survive creating good and decent titles, but Dontnod is still on a life support.